Well, good morning again. Back with myself, Mr. Keith, and Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, in East Sussex. And the temperature has actually risen by 1 degree. It's now 6 degrees. Even though it's sunny outside, the courthouse opposite is bathed in light, makes it look quite beautiful, even though it's monumental and stunning and meant to scare the hell out of anybody who walks into the front door as a criminal. But it's, so the weather is okay for the moment, but chilly, and it's only 9:33, 9:30 in the morning. I would expect a little bit more heat by now, but it ain't there. So be careful. Now, we are slowly beginning to bring you focus things, if you like. And while we're getting them all together, we use some archive material. Now, on a Monday, although this week it's changed to a Wednesday, we have Richard Barton, the barrister, who brings you recollections, and with his colleague Phil, some interesting cases from the past. So we're slowly getting on top of crime. I have been using some of our stuff from the archives to try and get history going. And it's all right. It's funny enough. But of course, I'm putting together all sorts of other programs which you can see throughout the year. And one of the things that we have not forgotten, but we've lost is food. And Alex Hoare and Joey are going to come back with a food program. But we're also going to test some of the restaurants and some of the food around town over a period of time to see how we stack up against the best in the world. There's Stuart Dolby with energy. He keeps his eye on what's happening in terms of the costs and the developments, because it's not only energy itself, but a lot of policy is guided by the fact that we want to get greener. And are the Greens actually doing it? Well, it's a question that we keep an eye on. And then we have Melissa Conti from New York giving us the background, and Suzanne Mucho from New York giving us the background of what's going on in our former colony and now our friendly ally, the United States. And that gives us some focus on what we should be bringing you, and we don't ignore other things. We bring them in, such as Liza Page's alternative views on what's going on in our society. So there you go. That's what it's all about. So what we're going to do this morning is just quite patently, blatantly, we're going to show you some stuff off the internet on some of the things you should be doing in the kitchen. So here you go. Just a few hints and tips, he said. the sorry that the picture isn't so hot on that. That's a bugaboo that seems to strike us. It's perfectly all right for a couple of weeks, and then it suddenly goes haywire. I have absolutely no idea why. It's a continual fight for us, and one day perhaps we'll find a permanent solution, but we haven't yet. So I can only say sorry. It's now 9:47. I have another little gem for you on the food line, but I'm not going to play it this morning because if that's the sort of picture we're getting, it's a pity to waste it. But I will be playing those tips and hints once a week. So those of you who like to look for look for bits and pieces that can help you with cooking. One of the interesting things is we actually explored doing a cooking program, and it is not the easiest thing to do. It may look it, and we had a chef who had written a book, and he was very keen to do the television version, and we went quite a long way with him. But he made an interesting point. He said what he writes for, and the sort of food that he prepares and suggestions is for girls of sort of 20, 21, 22, who, for instance, have got mother-in-law or potential mother-in-law coming for the first time, and she's got to impress that she is the right person for her son and can do all the right things. And he said they don't even know how to boil an egg. And his theory was that what people need, or what a lot of people need, particularly younger ladies, is how to do the simple things. And so that's what we are going to concentrate on. Nothing fancy, just simple tricks, simple things, so that at least you've got a little arsenal of tricks to try and persuade a potential mum-in-law that you can cook. Or for that matter, if you're trying to hook a man, or man, if you're trying to hook a woman. We play no favorites here in terms of gender. So those are the sort of little things that are on our food program. But we're also going to start to test some of the restaurants around town. And we don't have many restaurants. So we're going to include pubs, because pub food is quite good in Lewes. But is it good enough? So that's the next stage in our food development. So that's food and crime well underway. History, not bad. I've got a lot of stories about history in Lewes. And the thing is that, once again, we are local, not parochial. They may be local stories, but they are stories that actually echoed around the world. The Battle of Lewes. Battle of Lewes? What's that? Well, it was where the first signs of democracy, where the first signs of the end to divine right of kings sounded here in Lewes in 1264. The rights of man, Tom Paine, who sat in this very bar. So you're looking at the roof that was over Tom Paine's head when he wrote The Rights of Man. In other words, power should not be held in the hands of a single monarch. A man who, according to several historians, did two things. He named the United States, and he said there should be a chamber for the ordinary man called the House of Commons. So we got quite a lot going for us in this part of the world, and that's apart from the skirmishes between the Danes and the Romans and all sorts of other people. I spoke yesterday about the Pelhams, dear old Sir Nick, who chased down from Lewes to Seaford to see off the French during the 100-Year War. And believe me, we tend to think of these things as, oh, well, the French sort of came and nibbled, and we went and nibbled back, and so on and so forth. But there were some pretty horrific things. And there is a description, and one account of a French incursion into a village near Seaford, where there was as they put it, a handsome lady, and that the pirates, the French, took her one by one until in the end she died. Now that sort of horrific sexual attack is abhorrent to us today, but it was the sort of thing that happened as some of these people came ashore. They didn't just come to plunder. They didn't just come to raise the French flag. And they came to do all sorts of horrific things which gave them pleasure and which caused havoc in the villages. It is not widely known that William the Conqueror actually sent ashore little foraging parties to suss out the lie of the land. And that in some of the little villages around Roberts Bridge, they managed to find them in an unguarded mode. And all the young men able to fight against the Normans had their throats slit. They weren't expecting an attack. So there are lots of things that we don't hear about very much that we are able to, in history terms, to bring you and say, hey, guess what? Did you know this? So that's three areas of endeavor. We already have an established watchdog in the energy sector, in Stuart Dolby, and in the alternative view sector in the last page. So we are beginning to get some sort of form. But, and if you think that sometimes this television station is shambolic, it's because of me. I insist that we follow much the same sort of form or format, if you like, as a very celebrated program, a BBC program called Pebble Mill at 1. And I happened to be working at Pebble Mill, and Pebble Mill at 1 was on the ground, undertaken. It was a program, and it was the brainchild of a man called Phil Sidey. And Phil said, look at this huge atrium that they built in a building for broadcasting. Huge waste of space. And he was right. Who needs atriums in a broadcasting, except unless you want to just impress the people coming through the front door? And so he set up this program right in the middle of the foyer. And when people came in to keep appointments or came in to work or whatever, they walked right through the middle of the set of Pebble Mill at 1. And whoever happened to be interviewed there, it was a big star. David Jason says, hi, David. It was a wonderful, free-flowing, new type of television. And we try to keep that alive here, because if people wander through this hotel in the morning, we sometimes stop them and say, hey, do you want to be on television? Come and talk to us. We lay out invitations to people all the time. Interesting who says yes and who says no. We're not particularly well liked by the political establishment here. Not at all, at all, at all. Which brings me to one question. The local council, right, this district council, and to some extent the town council, all put out their information on the internet. Hey, this is the modern way, right? Let's not waste space and time on paper. Goodness gracious me, people are so used to using the web now, is that they'll find out. So why is it that half a rainforest has already come from the political parties now they're campaigning to tell us what great works they're doing? You can't have it both ways, chaps. Either the internet and social media is enough, or it's not. But don't start to pretend that the thing that's important to you when you're campaigning ceases to be important to you when you're in office as to what you should be doing in terms of passing on information to us. That is naughty in the extreme. naughty, 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 and we shall keep after you on that. Yeah, I know, you hate us. But we're like Marmite. Some people hate us, some people love us, but nobody ever forgets us once they've tasted us. Right, okay. Now, where are we? Oh, dear, dear, dear. We're at 9:57. We always seem to be running out of time when I think that we've got loads of it. Let's, because there's one thing that I'm quite keen on doing, and that is keeping up my attack on Parkinson's, right? Parkinson's disease. Not totally understood, not totally appreciated by the general public. There are so many other things, particularly cancer-related diseases, that top the headlines, that get the attention. But Parkinson's can be devastating. It affects the brain, you see. It eats away at that little bit which controls movement. It shows those bits and pieces that are not obvious most of the time, but when they're in the spotlight, they are. I've got Parkinson's, and as my consultant says, sometimes I wouldn't know it, Keith. You walk in here with a bounce. Well, I used to, and I can't bounce anymore. Over a 10-year period, I've deteriorated. And over the last 12 months, I've deteriorated faster than I did in the first 9. But I don't want this disease to win. And I am, along with a lot of other people, determined that it won't win. Muhammad Ali, Michael J. Fox, Billy Graham, Neil Diamond, a whole host of other people, well known and famous, all of whom fight like hell to try and get this disease understood and to do something to beat it. We haven't beaten it yet, but it's not for the want of trying. Now, what's Parkinson's, you may say? You've seen people who involuntarily shake like this. You can't see me. Can't see me walking at the moment, but I shuffle. As I said, the thing that really upsets me is I'm shuffling like an old man. And one good friend and kindly looked me in the eye and said, "You are an old man." And so I manifest both being old, but also it is showing that Parkinson's is slowly getting the better of me. But it's not really getting the better of me. It's just that my body is degenerating. And by the time that I'm actually 120, I'll be gone. No, I jest. And I jest because the only thing that I can do is to jest. Is to make fun of this damn disease. So it doesn't get the better of me. To laugh at it. To say, go away. Get stuffed. Go and bother somebody else. Leave me alone. And it's that positive attitude that actually does help temper it, but it doesn't stop it. And there are researchers all over the globe trying hard to find some cure, some remedy to try and make this dreadful disease a little bit more palatable and eventually to go away. They haven't reached it yet. Now, I was watching a little commercial for Action Cancer, Research Action Cancer, I think it is, who are very prominent on the high street, on television, in the papers, and they make an appeal for cash. This isn't really an appeal for cash. I'm not going to ask you to give £3 for a puppy, or £3 for a llama, or £3 for some poor child in Africa with a disease that on the surface looks 10 times worse than Parkinson's. Not a bit of it. I just want to help other people like Jeremy Paxman, who's also a sufferer and has started a unique and interesting vlog or blog or whatever you call them to try and bring sufferers together. I simply just want to help make it evident that Parkinson's exists and needs fighting the same as anything else. If you feel like putting your hand in your pocket and sending a few bob to Parkinson's, I think it's called Parkinson's UK, please do so. But I'm not twisting your arm. I would just like you to be able to recognize when you see somebody like this, to say, Parkinson's. I remember now that Deaf Bugger Hayes was on about it. Because it's awareness that will help it, not the pennies that you either will or will not give out of your purse. It's an awareness. And to give those of us who suffer a bit of backup when we're trying to be as positive as we are. Or we're trying to fight it in our own particular way. You know, people can be very unkind, you know. Another friend said, Keith, I will not go to the pub with you. Well, the moment you get inside that pub, you start to stagger. And you haven't had a drink. It's very embarrassing indeed. I suppose it is. But I pointed out to him and I said, look, here I am, just to help you, staggering around, pretending to be drunk. Well, there are a whole host of a group of people in here staggering because they are drunk and pretending not to be. Now, which do you want? Come on, put your hand in your pocket and buy that pint. Yes, it has its downside. It can embarrass people. Doesn't bother me. Any whoever suffers from any disease doesn't bother me. And to be quite honest with you, I'm very lucky because for most of my friends, it doesn't really bother. They make light of it and they joke about it the way that I do. And I do joke about it. Get lost. Stop it. Stop bothering me. I'm a busy man. I'm a very important man. I'm a VIP. That's as daft as me having Parkinson's. But it is one of those things that really will benefit far more than sending cash, than an awareness. So when you're watching me, and they call me Mr. Keith, become aware of Parkinson's. Become aware of the devastation it can cause to many people who, when it hits them, are so upset and so worried by it, is they can't actually find the strength or the courage initially to tell it to bugger off. I told it that from the very start, and I'm glad I did. And yes, I've had my falling down periods. And there's nothing worse than falling down because you're suddenly out of control. You can't stop it. The only thing is that I have learned over the years how to fall without hurting myself. Mostly, anyway. You pick up little tips like that. I'm not going to keep you for much longer. This is to say, stand firm with us. Stand firm with those of us who have got Parkinson's. Because it's the awareness. It's the fact that we can be tough enough to tell it to stop bothering us. And that's what will eventually find a cure. Yes, the pennies are important. If you have got a penny, turf it in. If you haven't, don't worry. Just get together with us and tell people, tell the disease, enough is enough. Go back to where you came from, and don't let things get on top of us. So that's my message for this week. Yes, it's a little message, isn't it? But there are tons and tons of people out there like me who got Parkies. Some, it bothers beyond compare. Others, if it's going to get me, it's going to have to come and get me. I'm not walking into it. I'm not giving into it. And I'd ask you to support me in that way. Should I have another little burst on a Sunday? Last time it was at breakfast time. It's been a rotten day today outside. So it's late afternoon on a Sunday before I go. And I still get up. 5:30 tomorrow morning I shall be up and happen and back making sure that this television station goes on air at approximately the right time. I say approximately because sometimes we're a couple of minutes late. That's dreadful in the television industry to do that. But that's my concession. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for giving me your support. And if you see me in the pub, just because I appear to be shaking, don't think that I won over the 8. I probably only had 1, so I got capacity for another 7. And it's your shout. Toodle, toodle, pip. Right. Well, there we go. It's interesting. The little things that I forget. Parkinson's affects the saliva coming into the mouth, so you get a very dry mouth, and then suddenly it's quite the opposite. And just there, while I was watching that with you, is just a little bit of drool, if you want, is a little bit of saliva began to seep out through the corner of the mouth. And what happens then is it starts to sort of form a little scab. So it's not just the shaking or the stumbling or some of the major things. There are little things. Yes, I get a spray to spray my mouth, my dry mouth. I'm going to do that every 5 minutes of the day. I can get a salve to put on here. Yes, I'm not going to do that every 5 minutes of the day. So there are some little inconveniences to Parkinson's that are not talked about and not noticed, but they're there nonetheless. And I don't know whether I should mention this. Yeah, well, I should, because I teased my consultant with it. But apparently, the 2 obsessions can occur with Parkinson's sufferers. One is that you have this urge to gamble and to go to casinos, to play cards beyond your capacity. And the other is an obsession with sex. And I have to point out to my consultant, and I say, Jane, I have not been into a casino in months. And then I look her in the eye, and God bless her, she giggles. But the fact of the matter is, is it does heighten these things, and you spend an inordinate amount of time sort of wondering about them and so on. So don't look at those of us suffering and think that it's poor souls, or in my case, it's the lower part of my body that's affected. There are other little things that we have to contend with. 83, too much sex is a bit of a contending. So I expect your sympathy. Now, I'm not quite sure what to do at the moment because the dreaded picture quality thing has struck. And it's not too bad when we just do it directly live from the studio here. But when we show a video, it's pretty awful. And once again, we have to try and see if we can conquer that for not only the rest of the week, but the rest of all time. So what should I do now? Because my plans and the things that are sitting in the vault ready to go on the air aren't really going to show up terribly well. So that is not an option. So I think what I will do is what I've done in the past, and that is just take a look through the inside of the newspapers, because there are lots of things there that don't come out in the headline stuff. But what I'm going to do is it's now 10:13. I'm going to take another 10-minute break, and then I shall be back with you. So just for the moment, and it's only just for the moment, I would say to you from Mr. Keith, toodle pip.